Nude Jeff Bezos. I want you to hold that picture in your mind for a while. If you don't know about this, nude photograph from Jeff Bezos got leaked online, and there are many theories of how this picture might have been revealed. One report says that his girlfriend at the time sent the picture to her brother, who then allegedly leaked it to the press for $200,000. But this story was never corroborated. Mr. Brother repeatedly denied these allegations, because of course, and the National Enquirer insisted that that's how they got the junk and you have to trust them. But one hypothesis suggests a much more sinister attempt. One that is particularly relevant to the story of this video and this channel. An analysis of Bezos' phone found evidence of intrusion from about 9 months before the fatal dick pic got leaked. The investigation claimed with high probability that the Amazon CEO was hacked when he received a video file over WhatsApp from Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. The Saudi ruler unexpectedly denied these allegations. However, 5 months after the hack, a Washington Post journalist criticizing the Crown Prince was assassinated in Turkey on order likely coming from Saudi Arabia. Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post, so it wouldn't be unimaginable to think this could have been an extortion attempt to tilt the Post's coverage of the prince. The Saudi kingdom has been found holding a secret arsenal of cyber weapons capable of covertly exfiltrating data from the highest value targets around the world. These cyber weapons have been built by companies making millions of dollars selling malware that can infect any device on the planet. Meet malware brokers, the companies that can legally hack you. It is August 10, 2016, and Ahmed Mansoor receives a very strange and unsolicited SMS text on his iPhone. Ahmed is an internationally recognized human rights activist based in the United Arab Emirates. The text message he received that day promised some new secrets about detainees tortured in UAE jails. The message contains a link for more details. The next day, Mansoor receives another message with a similar text and a link. But Mansoor is skeptical. He knows he's been a target of his enemies for a long time, and instead of doing anything with the message or clicking the link in it, he forwards the SMS to Citizen Lab researchers for inspection. The researchers found that if Mansoor clicked on the links in the text, that would lead to a chain of zero-day exploits that would remotely jailbreak his iPhone 6 and install a sophisticated spyware. Once infected, his phone would immediately start sending snapshots from his cameras and microphones and GPS coordinates. The spyware would record and collect decrypted WhatsApp messages, Viber calls, and any other communication through other messaging apps. The chain of iOS vulnerabilities this spyware was built on were zero-day. It means that Apple didn't know about these exploits until they were told about them by the Citizen Lab. The Trident exploits, as they became known later, were likely found by an anonymous researcher who then sold them to a malware broker. In November 2015, one such malware broker called Zerodium bought an exploit chain similar to Trident for $1 million. It was the biggest bug bounty offer in the world, meaning a malware broker was willing to offer more money to break iPhone security than Apple would offer to fix it. It took less than 3 months to find a winner. Mansoor knew better not to get caught in a hacking attempt. He had already been targeted twice by spyware from 2 other malware vendors since 2011. The spyware that targeted Mansoor in 2016 came from an unknown Israeli company that sells one of the most dangerous and proliferated intercept tools in the world. Ahmed Mansoor was one of the first figures to be targeted by the Pegasus spyware in the world, but he wasn't the last. Pegasus is a signature malware suite developed by the NSO Group, a malware vendor based in Israel. The company builds highly sophisticated malware it offers to clients all around the world. Most of their clients are governments, but the targets of their clients include just about anyone. Pegasus has been found targeting journalists, activists, dissidents, informants, as well as high-value targets of criminal investigation. NSO is a company like any other, with founders, 600 employees, and private equity funds from investors in London and New York. There was even a Google ad campaign paid for by NSO to promote their new website launch. Since they're based in Israel, they usually have to acquire an explicit license permission from Israel's Defense Department for every sale to foreign governments. This means NSO is legally allowed to hack into targets of their clients anywhere the Israeli government allows them to. These government hacking deals are insanely lucrative. In 2017, for instance, Saudi Arabia alone paid $55 million to use Pegasus on their targets. The Crown family became notoriously familiar with using advanced malware to target dissidents. One of the Saudi's harshest critics was Jamal Khasshoggi, a Washington Post journalist who was assassinated and dismembered with a bone saw in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul.
The pictures appear to show members of the Saudi hit team carrying bags thought to contain his remains into the Saudi Consul General's residence.
Around the time of Khashoggi's murder, his associates, contacts, and family members were all targeted with Pegasus. The communication between Khashoggi and his primary contact would have directly led to his assassination. The NSO released a public statement denying all the allegations that Pegasus might have been used in the surveillance of Jamal Khashoggi. But there are now multiple independent investigations that found evidence of many of Khashoggi's acquaintances targeted by Pegasus. Coincidentally, while a New York Times journalist was reporting on Saudi Arabia and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman after Khashoggi's death, NSO's Pegasus has been targeting his phone for a period of 3 years. The NSO is now being sued by multiple journalists, activists, groups, and even Facebook for their involvement in hacking non-criminal victims. The Facebook lawsuit alleges that NSO used fake WhatsApp accounts to infect over 1,400 phones with their malware, exploiting vulnerabilities inside the encrypted messaging app. Facebook claims the NSO deployed the malware through WhatsApp accounts of attorneys, journalists, diplomats, and human rights activists. These attacks were going on for over a year, from January 2018 to May 2019. A Budapest-based photojournalist was targeted by Pegasus when he was reporting on the Hungarian president and his childhood friends involved in corruption scandals. Brussels is now calling for scrutiny and resignation of Hungarian ministers in the wake of this revelation. Biden administration has put the NSO Group, along with 2 other malware makers, on a blacklist, citing concerns over US foreign policy goals and national security interests. Much of the evidence of the Pegasus global outreach came to light after a recently confirmed over 50,000 phone numbers were on a list of targets by NSO clients since 2016. Among the phone numbers listed were 180 journalists from Reuters, Associated Press, CNN, or The Economist. French President Emmanuel Macron and his entire cabinet were also on the list, although whether their phones were successfully infected is not clear. 36 Al Jazeera journalists had their iPhones hacked by Pegasus, exploiting a zero-day, zero-click vulnerability in iMessage. The attack didn't require any interaction from the victims and went undetected for about a year. Pegasus is an extremely dangerous malware. It was designed to be persistent, stealthy, and undetectable by antivirus software. It is effective at wiping any forensic evidence of its traces. The program can be remotely deactivated and removed by its operators when needed. Pegasus most commonly infects Android and iOS devices. It uses various vectors of infection, but usually it targets victims by their phone numbers. Sometimes the victim is lured into opening malicious links they receive in a message, and their phone is infected via a browser. Other times, so-called zero-click exploits need no interaction from the target. Merely receiving a text message via iMessage or WhatsApp can lead to a successful penetration. As soon as Pegasus is installed, it contacts the operator's command and control servers to receive and execute commands. It begins sending targets private data in regular scheduled updates designed to avoid extensive bandwidth consumption that will be caught by network observation. Data pulled from victims' phones include passwords, messages, contact lists, or any app data operators are interested in. They can monitor voice calls in real time, remotely turn on cameras or microphones, and track GPS location. The spyware even has a kill switch that an operator can trigger to seize the activity. NSO claims it properly vets their clients to prevent misuse of their spyware. The company claims they only sell to military, intelligence, and law enforcement agencies in 40 countries. But without providing any names, there is no independent scrutiny that would confirm their claims. How journalists and activists with no criminal charges ended up on the list of Pegasus targets remains unanswered. In Israel, Pegasus is classified as a weapon. That's what malware is. The purpose of malware is to steal information, destroy targets, or disable their capabilities. There are many companies like the NSO Group creating and selling their malware as a service to clients around the world. When you hear about a ransomware attack in the news, it most likely means somebody just purchased this cyber weapon from a malware maker and used it on their target. There's a lot of money to be made in the cyber arms market, just like in the real-world version of that. And just like with the real weapons and ammunition, cyber arms dealers are happy to facilitate the business of sellers and buyers of cyber weapons. This is Zerodium, probably the most public malware broker in the world. Unlike many of its competitors, Zerodium has been publicly announcing generous bug bounty offers on their website and social media. They are trying to attract the creme de la creme of cybersecurity researchers to sell their discoveries to them instead of software developers. Recently, Zerodium announced it was looking for vulnerabilities inside some of the most popular VPN service providers, NordVPN, Surfshark, and ExpressVPN. In their tweet, the company even specified they want to be able to leak IP addresses or remotely execute code on the Windows platform. Zerodium is offering huge payouts for their bug bounties. Currently, Android exploits go for $2.5 million, $500,000 more than iOS exploits. The higher the price, the more difficult and more valuable it is to breach the security of the targeted product. WhatsApp and iMessage exploits pay out $1.5 million. Browser exploits are up to $500,000, and bypassing Touch ID is only worth $100,000. Occasionally, malware brokers announce acquisition rates, where they temporarily hike up the prices of bounty offers to meet exceptional demand. But the reverse can also happen. In 2020, Zerodium had to temporarily stop acquiring new exploits for iOS and Safari because the submission volume ramped up so quickly. Despite publicity, Zerodium and many other malware brokers offer a great level of anonymity and secrecy for security researchers. Payouts are offered in cryptocurrencies, including anonymous options like Monero or Zcash. The usual submission process goes like this. Researcher approaches a malware broker with some information about their exploit. The malware broker reviews the minimal information and sends a preliminary offer. The researcher then submits full exploit and technical details to the broker, who then evaluates the code and sends a final offer. When a researcher accepts payments, the money is received quickly within a week. All of this is secretive but entirely legal. For anyone as talented as experts in mobile operating systems, it makes no financial sense to sell their labor to software developers. Apple, for instance, runs its own bug bounty program, but their highest offer currently listed for a zero-click attack is only $1 million. Zerodium alone outbids Apple by twice as much for the same exploit. Some malware brokers offer non-exclusive rewards, meaning cybersecurity researchers are able to sell the same exploit to more clients. So as long as research doesn't sell their exploit to a software company, they can profit from selling vulnerabilities multiple times over until they are patched. The only incentive to sell your research to software companies rather than malware brokers is in the realm of ethics. While researchers aren't the ones doing the hacking, they can reasonably assume they are helping to make the cyberspace less secure for everyone. Malware brokers exist because they are inevitable middlemen between governments as clients and private security researchers as providers. Not many researchers would be willing to give up their names and locations in order to deal with government agencies. Governments do not accept anonymous payments with Monero, and they often have to keep records for budgetary requirements. By dealing with malware brokers anonymously, security experts can avoid exposing themselves as potential targets of their own art. When submitted carefully, exploit researchers can avoid leaving their name on any public record. This scheme works perfectly for every party involved. Government agencies or advanced threat actors come to malware brokers with their demand. They need such and such exploits and no other details are provided, nor are they asked. Malware brokers then announce an offer either publicly or privately to the researchers they are already dealing with. Bounty hunters then go out on a hunt, looking for holes in the source code that can be exploited. Once found, they are submitted back to malware brokers, who pay the researchers for their work and sell the exploits to their clients. The clients never know who their supplies are, and researchers never have to deal with their clients. So basically YouTube ads. The governments then use the exploits in the wild, which just means they attack someone over a network. Eventually exploits get discovered, vulnerabilities they are using are disclosed to software developers, who then patch them usually within a short amount of time. Since old exploits no longer work, clients announce new demands to the malware brokers, and the whole process repeats itself. Malware brokers are routinely turning over millions of dollars because their clients are often cheating the game with the infinite money glitch. With black budgets of several $billion annually, the NSA, CIA, FBI, GCHQ, Mossad, MI6, or any other agency or state-sponsored group in Iran, Russia, China, or Saudi Arabia can afford to pour vastly more money into cyber offense than everyone else pours into cyber defense. Security is a cat and mouse game. All you're trying to do is to exhaust the resources of your adversary. But only one side is sitting on global oil reserves, can tax its population into an oblivion, or inflate the money supply to finance their operation. This is why the internet is in a perpetual cyber warfare, and why it is a lot easier to hack someone than it is to protect them. This is why if any of these agencies or groups comes after you, they are gonna get you no matter what.
Nothing is ever secure, ever. This should be your main takeaway from this story. You might never be targeted by a zero-day, zero-click exploit, but this doesn't make you immune to online attacks. These high-level exploits are designed to work on fully patched devices. That's why they are so expensive. But non-zero-day exploits that require to go to a phishing website or open a malicious file can still infect you. And these exploits are so cheap, they are infecting millions of devices every day. False sense of security is worse than no security, so here is a reality check. Police forces routinely open up locked iPhones and bypass their encryption for less than $50 per phone. So-called GrayKey boxes are used in all kinds of investigations by state and federal agencies. It might take them over 3 days to unlock a 6-digit passcode, but once your phone is in their hands, they are going to open it. FBI has successfully bypassed Face ID authentication on a suspect's iPhone 11 Pro Max only a few months after the phone was initially released. This is really embarrassing for Apple, but it suggests how over the years, the scales have tilted in favor of offensive security. When the feds infamously tried to force Apple to build backdoor for an iPhone 5C back in 2015, the Federal Bureau eventually accessed the iPhone without Apple's help, but it cost them $900,000 to pay a private security researcher. Today, a $15,000 GrayKey box can break into iPhones of the latest generation. Offensive security is more profitable than ever, and it will only get worse in the coming years. Ransomware as a service is now a booming market. It has spawned a new business model on the dark web, selling privileged access to corporate networks of multi-million-dollar companies. So-called initial access brokers now make up 1/4 of all the listings on dark web forums. When you're hit with ransomware, all your files are permanently encrypted with a key controlled by the attacker. Your only options are to restore from backup or pay the ransom. Paying doesn't come with any guarantees, so your best chance of recovery is to maintain a meticulous hygiene for offline backups. At some point, you are going to be a victim of a ransomware attack, a database breach, or remote exploitation. If you assume your data will be stolen, destroyed, or manipulated, you can start preparing your security strategy. But there are some steps that you can take even right now. Disable JavaScript. That will hinder your browser experience, but it will also make you much more secure. Only enable JavaScript when you need functions like logging in. Minimize your data footprint and app usage. Keep it simple, do not install every messaging app in existence. Use Signal or Briar and convince your contacts to do the same. Delete apps you can live without and remove unnecessary permissions.
Anonymize your online presence. Obtain an anonymous phone number for your online account such as Signal to make it more harder to target you. Paying cash instead of by credit card goes a long way. Email aliases can protect you a lot against database breaches. Remember to keep all your devices updated. That includes your phone, wearables, laptops, and even your Wi-Fi router. And of course, every app and program on those devices. I have a series of security tutorials that will teach you about strong passwords, two-factor authentication, network security, and much more one video at a time. If you made it this far, please remember that all of my work and research is 100% independent from sponsorship and affiliates. You can support this channel on Patreon and get access to more content on a weekly basis. Thank you.